It started with a notification. Just a tiny buzz on my phone while I was finishing up my coffee, scrolling through the usual garbage people post. Vacation photos, overpriced meals, fake smiles plastered on faces that probably had a whole different expression the second the camera was put away. A tag. Someone had tagged me in a post. I barely even thought about it when I tapped on the notification. Probably some old college memory someone dug up, or maybe a joke about something stupid I said years ago. It didn't matter. But then the screen loaded, and for a few seconds, I just stared. Not because I didn't understand what I was looking at. No, I understood too well. But my mind was fighting it, rejecting it like a body rejecting poison. I could feel my grip tightening around my phone, fingers digging into the case, my breathing going slow and shallow like my body had decided to prepare itself for impact. It was her, my wife, wrapped around another man, their bodies tangled together, their lips pressed so close I could practically feel the heat between them just from looking at the picture. A bar setting, neon lights casting a dim glow over them, drinks on the table, half finished, forgotten. But that wasn't what my eyes locked onto. It was the way she leaned into him, the way her hands gripped his shirt, fingers curling into the fabric like she had done 1,000 times before. The way his hands sat firmly on her waist, his fingers pressing into her skin like he had every right to be there. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an accident. And then I saw the timestamp. Last night, I felt something crack inside me. A slow, deliberate shattering of something I couldn't name. Because I knew exactly where I was last night. I was at home, sitting on the couch, watching some garbage on TV, waiting for her to come back from her so-called girls' night. I even remember texting her at one point, "You having fun?" And she had replied, "Yeah, just a few drinks, then I'll head home. Love you. Love you." I could still see the message sitting there in my chat history, so bright and bold and utterly meaningless now. Because this picture was what she was really doing. And the worst part, the absolute worst, most gut-twisting, bile-rising part, I knew the guy. Not just anyone. Not some stranger from a bar. Not a co-worker. Not some sleazy random hookup. Her ex. The same one she had sworn up and down she had no feelings for. The one she claimed was just a bad memory. The one she laughed about whenever his name came up, calling him toxic, calling him a mistake, calling him her past. And now here she was, kissing him like she had never wanted to stop. My vision tunneled, the edges going dark like my brain was trying to shut down everything that wasn't pure, unfiltered rage. My pulse hammered so hard in my ears it drowned out every other sound in the room. The comments under the post were already rolling in. Some laughing, some shocked, some tagging me. People I barely knew, people I hadn't talked to in years, all suddenly watching, waiting to see what I'd do. And her friends? Oh, her friends were silent. Not a single one of them saying a word. No explanations, no apologies, no nothing. Just a giant, gaping silence. I gripped my phone so hard I thought I might snap it in half. My other hand clenched into a fist against my leg, nails digging into my palm until I was 1 second away from drawing blood. I wanted to throw something, smash something, drive straight to wherever she was, and no. I forced myself to exhale, slow and measured, trying to rein in the fire surging inside me before it burned everything. I wasn't going to be that guy. I wasn't going to scream, call her, demand answers like some fool who didn't already know what this was. There was nothing to ask, no reason to beg for explanations. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a choice, and I knew exactly what I had to do next. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a second. I just sat there in the dark, phone in hand, staring at that picture like the pixels might rearrange themselves into something else if I looked long enough. Like maybe it was some kind of cruel prank. Maybe it was fake. Maybe, but no, I knew better. I wasn't an idiot, and I wasn't in denial. That picture was real. The timestamp was real. The way she held on to him was real. And she had no idea I had seen it. That was the part that kept circling in my head, over and over like a loop I couldn't break out of. She was out there, living her life, completely unaware that I knew. Maybe she was asleep right now, curled up in bed, dreaming of him while I sat here, my stomach twisted in a knot so tight I felt like I might puke. But I wouldn't, because I wasn't sad. I was furious. It wasn't the betrayal itself that burned the most. It wasn't even the act of cheating. It was the sheer audacity, the boldness of it, the way she had the nerve to come home last night, walk through the door, kiss me on the cheek like nothing had happened. I could still hear her voice in my head, casual, breezy, like she wasn't carrying his scent on her skin. Hey, babe. Girls' night was fun. I'm exhausted, though. She had yawned, stretched her arms, smiled at me. I had smiled back, like a goddamn fool. And now the sun was creeping up through the blinds, painting soft golden streaks across the floor, but it might as well have been pitch black for all I cared. Because today was different. Today I knew, and now I had to decide what to do with that knowledge. The first move. The second I heard the bedroom door creak open, I forced myself to look normal. I relaxed my grip on my phone, dropped it onto the couch like I wasn't holding proof of her betrayal just minutes ago. My hands, still shaking from anger, curled into my lap as I kept my face blank, neutral. She padded into the living room, hair a mess, wrapped in one of my t-shirts like she had any right to wear it. Morning, she mumbled, rubbing sleep from her eyes. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see my wife. I saw a liar, a woman who had gone out, kissed her ex, let him touch her, and then came home to me. She had probably crawled into bed with my name still on her lips, rolling over and falling asleep like it was just another night. I swallowed the rage building in my throat. Not yet. Morning, I said back, my voice even. She stretched, her movements lazy and unbothered, completely normal, like she hadn't just detonated a nuclear bomb on our marriage. Didn't sleep? She asked, nodding toward my coffee cup on the table. Nah, she didn't question it. Just walked past me into the kitchen, humming some song under her breath. Like this was just another day. Like she hadn't just killed something between us. And then, as I watched her pour herself a cup of coffee, something inside me snapped. Not in a violent way. Not in some explosive, throw things against the wall kind of way. Something colder. Something sharper. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was calculating. Because if she could lie to my face, walk into this kitchen, and act like she wasn't the worst kind of person, then I could do the same. So I played along. I watched her sip her coffee, make idle small talk, tell me about some TV show she wanted to watch later. I even nodded along, letting her believe she was safe, letting her believe I was clueless. And the entire time, I was thinking about what I was going to do to her. She had no idea what was coming. She had no idea. Not a single clue. She stood there in the kitchen, sipping her coffee, stretching her arms, yawning like it was just another morning. Like she hadn't spent last night wrapped around her ex while I sat at home like a fool, thinking she was out with friends. I watched her from the couch, keeping my expression flat, my body relaxed. I forced my hands to stay still, my breathing even. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing just how much she had pissed me off. Not yet. Got any plans today? She asked, leaning against the counter, stirring sugar into her coffee. I had to stop myself from laughing. Plans? Yeah, I had plans. I had plans to figure out just how deep her betrayal went. To find out if last night was the first time or if she had been doing this behind my back for weeks. Months. Years. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I shrugged. Casual. Easy. Unbothered. Nah, just the usual. Work, errands, maybe grab a drink later. She nodded, her eyes still a little sleepy. Relaxed. Comfortable. I wondered if she had woken up thinking about him. If she had rolled over in bed, expecting to find him there instead of me. If she was still feeling his hands on her body. My jaw tightened, but I forced my muscles to stay loose, my face neutral. I couldn't let her see it. Not yet. She walked over and kissed me on the cheek before heading toward the bedroom to get ready for work, like nothing had changed. Like she wasn't a goddamn traitor. I clenched my fist the second she was out of sight, staring down at the table. There was a storm raging inside me. A fire burning, so hot in my chest I could barely think straight. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to call her out, to throw that picture in her face, to demand she admit what she had done. But I wasn't going to do that, because she didn't deserve that kind of reaction from me. She didn't deserve my emotions, my pain, my heartbreak. She didn't deserve anything from me at all. What she deserved was consequences, and I was going to make sure she got them. Step 1, the setup. The second she left for work, I grabbed my phone and pulled up the post again. The picture. Her and him. The comments were still rolling in, people reacting, tagging others, tagging me. I scrolled through them, taking in every single detail. There were a few laughing emojis, a couple of shocked responses, some idiots trying to be funny about it. But then, mixed in with all the noise, there were a few comments that stood out. People who knew. People who had seen them together before. Not surprised, they were always close. Damn, so they're back together now? Thought she was married? That last one sent a fresh wave of fury through me. People knew. People knew and hadn't said a word to me. Had this been going on right under my nose? Had I been walking around like a joke while she and her ex laughed about it behind my back? I clenched my teeth, my breathing slow and measured as I fought back the urge to smash something. This wasn't the time for blind rage. I needed to be smart about this. I needed to think. So I started digging. Step 2, the trail. Social media is a funny thing. People don't realize how much they expose themselves online. They post without thinking. They comment without realizing it leaves a trail. They tag locations. They check in places. They forget that even deleted posts leave a digital footprint. And my wife? She wasn't as careful as she thought she was. I started with her tag photos. Scrolling back, going further than just last night. Checking dates, locations, looking for patterns. And I found them. Little things at first. A comment here, a like there. Nothing too obvious. But once I knew what I was looking for, the pattern became clearer. She had been meeting up with him for weeks. Not just last night. Not just a one-time mistake. Weeks. Maybe even longer. And I had been so blind. Every time she told me she was out with friends, every time she worked late, every time she had a sudden last-minute plan that didn't quite make sense. It had been him. Always him. I stared at the screen, my stomach turning with something dark, something ugly. She thought she had gotten away with it. She thought I would never find out. She thought I was stupid. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly, forcing myself to breathe. Not yet. Not yet. I wasn't going to confront her. Not now. Because she wasn't the only one who could play games. If she wanted to lie to my face, I was going to let her. For now. But she had no idea that her world was about to come crashing down. I didn't go to work that day. There was no way I could sit in an office, pretend to care about emails, nod along to meetings while this was boiling inside me. Instead, I spent the entire morning doing what she had probably never expected me to do. I watched. I waited. I gathered everything. I started by checking her location history. Most people don't realize how much their phones track them, even when they think they've covered their tracks. She wasn't dumb. She had turned off location sharing with me a long time ago. Some nonsense excuse about how privacy is important and how not everything needs to be tracked in a marriage. I had let it go back then, thinking nothing of it. But what she didn't know was that her Google account, logged in on the laptop we both used, still kept a record of her movements. And what do you know? The girls' night that had supposedly taken place across town? Yeah, she had never gone there. Her phone had pinged at a different bar. The same one from the picture. The same one where she had been all over her ex. She hadn't even tried to cover her tracks. Arrogant. I dug deeper. Text messages? She had deleted most of them, but not all. I found a few stray ones, hidden in old group chats, a couple of notifications that had slipped through. A few messages to a friend about how she was catching up with someone. About how it's not a big deal. And then, the real jackpot, her email. Tucked away in her inbox was a reservation confirmation. A hotel. 2 weeks ago. She had been careful, but not careful enough. The reservation was under a different name, but the email was hers. A one-night stay at a place just outside the city. Nowhere trip. No weekend getaway with friends. Just a single night, booked under some fake excuse. With him, I stared at the screen, the evidence all laid out before me. My hands were steady. My breathing was calm. It was strange. I had expected some kind of explosion inside me. Some uncontrollable burst of rage. Some urge to drive straight to her office and confront her on the spot. But instead, I felt cold. Calm. Like a predator who had just spotted its prey, but wasn't ready to strike just yet. Because now, it wasn't just about knowing. Now, it was about how I was going to make her pay. The act begins. By the time she got home that evening, I was waiting. Not in an obvious way. Not pacing. Not glaring at the door like some dramatic movie scene. No, I was in the kitchen, casually cooking dinner, humming like it was any other night. She walked in, tossing her bag on the chair, stretching her arms. Completely at ease. Smells good, she said, coming up behind me. She kissed my cheek. Kissed me. Like she hadn't spent the past few weeks betraying me. Like I was still just her dumb, clueless husband. I forced myself to smile, turning slightly to look at her. Thought I'd surprise you, I said, keeping my tone light. She beamed. Beamed. Like she actually believed she deserved this. You're the best, she said, wrapping her arms around me for a brief hug before pulling away to check her phone. My eyes flickered to the screen. A new message popped up. His name. I knew it was him. I didn't even have to see the full text. She hesitated for half a second, just a half second, before flipping her phone over on the counter, hiding the screen. I wanted to laugh. Did she think I wouldn't notice? That I wouldn't recognize the way her fingers twitched, the way her breath caught just slightly when she saw his name? But I didn't say anything. Not yet. Instead, I played along. I sat with her at dinner, listened to her talk about her stressful day at work, nodded in all the right places. I let her believe everything was fine, that I was the same man she had always known. And the whole time, I was imagining how she was going to react when she realized she had been playing a game she was never going to win. The first crack. I waited until after dinner, until she was relaxed, scrolling through her phone on the couch, sipping a glass of wine like she didn't have a single worry in the world. That's when I struck. Oh, by the way, I said casually, grabbing my phone. I saw something interesting today. She glanced up at me, eyebrows raised, completely oblivious. Yeah. I turned my phone around and slid it across the table toward her. The picture. Her and him. Front and center. The second she saw it, her whole body stiffened. Not just a small reaction. A full body freeze. Her fingers tightened around her glass. Her lips parted slightly, like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. For the first time all night, she looked caught, and I just sat back, watching her, waiting, letting the silence stretch. Because this was the moment she had been dreading. The moment when she realized I wasn't stupid. The moment when all her carefully constructed lies started to crumble. She swallowed hard. She stopped, shut her mouth, opened it again. I could practically see her brain working, scrambling for an excuse, trying to figure out how to spin this. It's not what it looks like, she finally blurted out, shaking her head. It's just. I raised an eyebrow. Just what? Just a misunderstanding? Just a coincidence? Just her kissing her ex in the middle of a bar like it was nothing? I didn't say a word. I just watched her squirm, watched the panic start to creep into her eyes. Because she knew there was no talking her way out of this. And the best part? This was only the beginning. She sat there, frozen, staring at the screen like she could make the picture disappear if she just blinked hard enough. I could see it, every thought running through her head, every excuse scrambling to form. Her fingers tightened around her wine glass, her breathing shallow, her lips parting like she was about to speak. But she didn't, because there was nothing to say. I let the silence stretch, heavy and suffocating, watching her as she drowned in it. The woman who had walked through that door just an hour ago, completely at ease, thinking she was safe, thinking she had gotten away with it. She was gone. And what was left? A liar, a cheater sitting across from me, caught in her own web, eyes darting from my face to the screen, then back again, as if searching for some way out. It's not what it looks like, she finally said, her voice too fast, too rehearsed. I almost laughed. That was the best she could come up with? I leaned back, slowly, casually, letting her watch me, letting her feel the weight of my stare. Really, I said, that was all, just that one word, because I wanted her to sweat. And she did. Her shoulders tensed. Her fingers fidgeted against her glass. She couldn't even look at me. She started, then stopped, biting her lip. Another beat of silence. Then she forced a small, shaky laugh. Shaking her head like this was all some ridiculous misunderstanding. It's just, God, it looks so bad, I know, but she sighed, rubbing her temples. Plain exhausted. playing frustrated, like she was the victim here, like I was being unreasonable for putting this in front of her. I said nothing, just watched. He was just, it wasn't like that, she finally said, forcing out the words like she was crafting the lie in real time. I waited, let her dig her own grave. He kissed me, okay? I didn't even expect it. It was just this random, stupid moment. I wasn't. She gestured to the screen. I wasn't even into it. Not into it. The way her body leaned into him. The way her fingers curled into his shirt. The way his hand gripped her waist like it had been there before. Not into it. I almost smiled. Because now, I knew exactly what kind of liar she was. She wasn't the type to break down crying, to beg for forgiveness, to tell me she had made a horrible mistake. No, she was the type to pretend it wasn't even real, to rewrite the story before my eyes, to make me the crazy one for not believing her. And that was more disgusting than the cheating itself. The game begins. I exhaled, slow and deliberate, picking up my phone and tilting it toward her. So I said, "You weren't into it." Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. "No, it just happened. It was stupid. I didn't even want it." "Right." I nodded. "So why were you holding on to him?" A flicker of panic. There and gone in an instant. God, I don't know, it was just instinct, I guess. I was drunk, I wasn't thinking. I turned the phone back toward me, tapping on the screen, swiping to the next photo, the one someone else had posted from a different angle. Her smiling, pulling him closer, the color drained from her face. "Got you." "Instinct," I repeated, tilting my head. She let out a small, breathless laugh. Nervous, cornered, desperate. Okay, yes. I was just being stupid, all right. She ran a hand through her hair, her frustration turning to anger now. Like I was the problem. Like she was mad at me for knowing. "I didn't think it was a big deal," she said, shaking her head. Not a big deal. She had kissed another man. Her ex let him touch her, probably did a hell of a lot more than just this, and she was sitting here in our home, telling me it wasn't a big deal. I should have exploded right then and there. But I didn't, because I wasn't going to give her the reaction she wanted. She wanted me to get mad. She wanted to fight. Because if we fought, then she could flip it. Then she could be the victim. Then she could make this about me overreacting. So I gave her nothing. Just silence. Just a slow, thoughtful nod. "You didn't think it was a big deal," I repeated. "Calm. Even." She exhaled, relieved, thinking she was getting through to me. "Exactly. It was just one of those things, you know? One dumb mistake. It won't happen again." "A mistake," I said. She nodded. "Yeah, that's all." I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table. "So, just to be clear, this was a mistake. Just a one-time thing. You didn't want it. It wasn't intentional, and it meant nothing to you." She nodded again. Too fast. Too eager. "Yes, exactly. It meant nothing." I watched her for a long moment. Let the weight of her words settle. And then I smiled. Because I had everything I needed. She had just handed it to me on a silver platter. All the lies. The cover-up. The deliberate rewriting of reality. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't remorseful. She wasn't even scared of what she had done. She was just trying to get away with it. And she thought she had won. She thought I was buying it. But she had no idea. She had already lost. She sat across from me, sipping her wine, relieved. She thought it was over. She thought her pathetic excuse had worked. That I had bought it, swallowed it whole, and was now sitting here like some understanding, reasonable husband who just needed a little explanation to make this all go away. And the worst part? She felt safe. I could see it. The moment she thought she had talked her way out of it. The subtle shift in her body language. The way her shoulders eased. The way her breathing steadied. The way she finally looked me in the eye again like she had won some invisible battle. She didn't know that she had just lost the war. Because I was letting her think she had one. I gave her nothing. No anger. No accusations. No outburst. Just a small, slow nod. A thoughtful sip of my drink. A casual glance at the table like I was processing her words. Let her think she had gotten away with it. Let her think I was rationalizing it. Let her believe I was about to accept this, move on, pretend like this was just some unfortunate little mistake in our otherwise happy marriage that I knew what she expected me to do next. She wanted me to reassure her. To say something like, "I get it. I overreacted. I trust you. That was the out she was waiting for. But instead, I leaned back in my chair, stretching my arms a little, keeping my expression neutral. All right, I said simply. She blinked. All right, she echoed. I nodded. Yeah, I hear you. It was a mistake. You didn't mean for it to happen. It won't happen again. I listed out her words, repeating them like I was accepting them, like I was agreeing with her. Her shoulders sagged slightly in relief. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. She actually had the nerve to thank me for buying her lie. I kept my face carefully composed, taking another slow sip of my drink, letting her settle into this new false reality. She thought she was out of the woods. She thought I had forgiven her, that I was the same husband I was yesterday. But I wasn't, because yesterday, I didn't know I was married to a snake. The next move, she started talking again, the same way someone fills space when they're nervous. I mean, I feel awful. I never wanted to hurt you, babe. You know that, right? I nodded again, keeping my hands relaxed on the table. Yeah, of course. I just dug it was stupid. I didn't even tell you because I knew you'd be mad over nothing. Over nothing. I made sure to keep my grip on my glass loose, my fingers still, because if I let myself react, even for a second, she'd see it. She'd see just how much I wanted to destroy her right now. But I wasn't going to, because she didn't deserve my anger. She deserved something worse. So I just shrugged, as if I was over it. Yeah, I get it. She exhaled, nodding, her lips pressing into a small, cautious smile. I love you, you know, she said softly, reaching across the table, placing her hand over mine. I let her think she was rebuilding something. Let her believe she had managed to convince me to stay the same devoted husband she had been lying to. I could see it in her eyes. She was already moving past it, already rewriting history. Tomorrow, she'd probably tell herself I had overreacted, that it was just a tiny bump in the road, nothing major, nothing serious, that I was lucky to have her. She was already forgetting that I had sat here, watching her spin lie after lie, forgetting that I had seen her in that picture, pressed against him like she belonged to him, forgetting that I wasn't the same man anymore. And that was the best part, because when people feel safe, they get sloppy, and I was counting on it. The first real test. After dinner, she curled up on the couch with her phone, scrolling like nothing had happened, like she had won, like I wasn't sitting in the same room, watching her with new eyes. I was waiting for her to make her next mistake, waiting for her to slip up, waiting for her to prove that this wasn't just a one-time mistake. And she did. It didn't take long. A single notification popped up on her screen just for a second, just long enough for me to see his name. She must have forgotten to mute him, or maybe she thought I wasn't paying attention. Either way, I saw it, and it was all I needed. Because if this was truly over, if she had really meant what she said about it being a mistake, a one-time thing, something that would never happen again, then why the hell was he still messaging her? Why was his name still appearing on her phone? And why, the second she saw it, did she tense up, her thumb moving so fast I barely caught it, swiping the message away before I could read it? Guilty. I felt a slow, dangerous smile tug at my lips. Got you again. I didn't say anything, didn't react, just kept my attention on the TV, letting her believe I hadn't seen it, letting her think she had dodged another bullet. Because I wasn't ready to make my move yet. Not yet. Not until I had everything. Not until she was so deep in her own lies that she couldn't see the ground crumbling beneath her. Because when I finally did confront her, when I finally let her know that I knew everything, I wasn't just going to leave. I was going to burn everything she thought she had to the ground. And I couldn't wait to watch her choke on the ashes. She thought she was in the clear, sitting there on the couch, scrolling through her phone, sipping the last of her wine like it was just another normal night. Like she wasn't a liar. Like she wasn't a cheater. Like she wasn't sitting in a house with a husband who was no longer her husband in anything but name. She had no idea that the man sitting just a few feet away from her wasn't thinking about what show was on the TV. I was thinking about ruining her. Not just leaving. Not just throwing my hands up and saying, well, guess I married the wrong woman. No, that would be too easy. I wanted her to feel it. I wanted her to drown in it. Because this wasn't just about cheating. This wasn't about some dumb, drunken mistake, some meaningless one-night stand. This was calculated. This was deliberate. She had gone out, met up with her ex, kissed him, let him touch her, and then came home to me. She had looked me in the eyes, smiled, kissed me, crawled into our bed like nothing had happened. That wasn't a mistake. That was a decision. And I was about to make my own decision. Setting the trap. The message she had swiped away, it had been quick. A reflex. Like she had something to hide. Like her gut instinct was to cover her tracks. And that told me everything. If she had nothing to hide, she wouldn't have done that. If this was really over, if it was really just a mistake, she wouldn't still be talking to him. But she was. And I wanted proof. I stood up, stretched. "I'm going to take a shower," I said, keeping my voice lazy, casual. She barely looked up. Too comfortable. Too at ease. Okay," she mumbled, still glued to her screen. I walked to the bathroom, left the door open just a crack, turned the water on. Then I waited. Waited for her to think I was gone. Waited for her to feel safe again. A minute passed. 2. 5. Then, the sound I was waiting for. The soft, muffled vibration of her phone. I cracked the door open just slightly, just enough to peek out without being seen. She was still on the couch. Still texting. She didn't hesitate this time. Didn't swipe the notification away. No, now that she thought I was busy, she was responding. My stomach burned with rage, but I kept myself calm. Because this was exactly what I needed. The confirmation. I gave it a few more minutes. Let her send her messages. Let her dig herself deeper. Then I turned off the shower, grabbed a towel, and walked back out like I hadn't seen a thing. She looked up, gave me a small, innocent smile. "That was fast," she said, setting her phone face down on the couch beside her. I nodded, toweling off my hair, watching her out of the corner of my eye. Yeah, water wasn't hot enough. Lie. The water was boiling. But I needed an excuse to come back out. To catch her before she had time to delete anything. I walked over, sat down next to her. Let my leg brush against hers like nothing had changed. Like I wasn't seconds away from shattering the illusion she was living in. She kept her phone flipped down, not picking it up, not checking her messages. Which meant she was waiting for me to leave again. Which meant she was hiding something. I leaned back, stretched my arms behind my head, let out a fake yawn. "Man, I think I forgot to turn off the stove," I muttered, standing up. She barely reacted. "Oh, okay," she said absently, already reaching for her phone the second I turned my back. "Got you." I walked 2 steps away, then turned back fast. Before she even had time to think, I reached down and grabbed her phone off the couch. She sucked in a sharp breath. Too sharp. Her whole body went rigid. Too rigid. Panic. "Hey," she blurted, reaching for it. "What are you doing?" I held it just out of her reach, flicking the screen on. Her latest message thread was still open. His name at the top. And right there, clear as day, the words that destroyed any last shred of doubt I had left. "Miss you already. When can we see each other again?" "Soon. I'll figure something out." I read it once. Twice. A third time, just to let it sink in. She had lied to my face. Sat there at the dinner table, looked me in the eye, and told me it was over. That it had been nothing. That she had no feelings for him. But this was a woman planning the next time she was going to betray me. My hands trembled slightly as I gripped her phone, but not from sadness. Not from heartbreak. From rage. She scrambled up, reaching for it. "Give me that," she said, her voice sharp now. I pulled it back, my grip tightening. "Why?" I asked, my voice calm. Too calm. She swallowed hard. "Because it's mine." Not because there was nothing to hide. Not because I was wrong. Just because it was hers. I let out a slow breath, shaking my head. "You really thought I wouldn't see this?" She didn't answer. Because she had no answer. Her face twisted, her mind working, trying to find a way out. And that's when I saw it. The shift. The moment she realized that she had no excuses left. No sweet words. No fake tears. So she did the only thing she had left. She got angry. "I can't believe you're checking my phone," she snapped, arms crossing. "Do you not trust me?" I stared at her. A long, hard, unblinking stare. And then I laughed. Not a little laugh. A full, sharp, humorless laugh. Because this was unbelievable. "Trust you," I repeated, shaking my head. After this, I held up her phone, the message thread still open. She flinched slightly. like she couldn't even look at it, like seeing her own words was too much for her. But she still tried to spin it. "You're making a big deal out of nothing," she said, shaking her head. "Nothing," I repeated. "Texting your ex about seeing him again is nothing." She exhaled sharply, standing up, pacing. "It's not like I actually planned anything," she snapped. "It was just stupid flirting, that's it." I stared at her, my jaw tightening, because now, finally, she was showing me who she really was. A liar, a manipulator, a woman who would never take responsibility for what she had done. And suddenly, everything became crystal clear. I wasn't going to stay. I wasn't going to fight. I was going to walk away. But not before I destroyed everything she thought she had. And I couldn't wait to watch her realize it.